Where does envy take a man? Hello everyone. Today's topic is one where we will be exploring the human experience of envy and also jealousy, and in a sense just how one interacts when the values in their present reality change. You are a human being who is aware of self. Based on your awareness to self, you are working with relationships of other. That is how this plane of existence is kept for you to have some form of observance of it. So you are in a sense the object of observance that is also an observer in its life. Death is not something to question now because it is something that is not real for many people because they're still alive, So it's as if that moment when they asked Sadhguru about life after death, and he's like, some things have been left for experience. So pretty much what the communication is there is we do not want to too deeply look at death, but to be aware of life. As we are aware of life, you see that the jealous man felt like he was keeping something away. It's as if that moment when you are doing something that is not helpful, a part of you knows of the destruction you're doing. So you are having an impulse against your own act because you know, for example, if it's wrong or it's unnecessary. But sometimes when jealousy comes, it is something that just, without even you being aware of it, comes because each being has a different sense of awareness to that reality. So based on your awareness to what is real, you will see that jealousy is a dynamic of how you are a character in some story. But when you recognize you are the awareness to the story and you are beyond the ideology that is limited in dualistic conception, there's no need to be jealous because you're no longer comparing things to an idea. You're no longer an idea because your existential curiosity, your holy curiosity, has taken you into understanding what you are as more than just a life form. It's as if discovering the life before the form. And so life forms do need both states of understanding, because all form is kept within formless observance. And so as it is held in such a way, the emptiness and that which was full, the fullness, were transparently present to be a spectrum to one another. It's as if the good and bad were in some way connected. The saint and sinner thought they were separate, but it was based on each other's definitions that they were kept. So in a world where if suddenly saints disappeared, there would be no sinners. Suddenly sinners disappeared, there would be no saints. And this is not literal, this is in the sense that if suddenly the whole concept of a saint disappeared, the concept of a sinner disappeared, you would see your psychology would still continue and understand itself in many ways. You must not hinder yourself by thinking that you're not clear or your understanding is not flowing where it must. I have found that times that I have been jealous in have been times where I've expected something from my reality, either consciously or a bit unconsciously, And as I've expected something, I've wanted to create that result to such an intensity that it's as if I have been so convinced that I'm individual, so the individual has to do it. So it's as if the whole world is against this one little form. But as this one moment of being becomes aware of its presence, it understands that the temporal nature holds within it an eternal understanding. self-aware to its core, to the essence of its being, beyond ideology. That being will become, in a sense, a seer who will not, his knowing will not depend on the flows of externality. So how I would say this is that, for example, if I drop an apple, we observe it and we say that, for example, there's gravity. So we create a sense of meaning to some phenomenon. Now let us say on another day you become aware of the apple that was the apple which was Eden's mistake. It was the apple that Eden took. So when you see that when you give life to an idea in your subtler planes of awareness, you are always playing with imagery. So the mystic and the yogi is seeking an understanding beyond the games of the mind, beyond a lack of clarity. It's as if at times there's good reason to allow yourself to see. Now, you will at times find yourself associating with how others are communicating a sense of you. Regardless of how much you feel you are someone who is not doing well or is doing well based on others or not, it is very crucial to know that before you receive any information from anyone's understanding, it is crucial for you to receive the immediate information of your reality from your understanding. So just put a pause on everything that you're trying to learn or trying to do and simply become aware of what you are as an existing being. What is existence? What is the core of existence through direct experience? And you follow this path, you will become an understanding of many paths. You will see that there was always a simultaneous sense of intelligence in which chronology, let's say, couldn't capture, or how our steps towards heaven could never be linear. You see, now is a time where we can choose to understand things in a way where it's efficient, or understand things in a way just simply how they work back in the day. It's very crucial to see that the human being, and especially the audience I'm speaking to, these are people who they have taken responsibility to communicate. And what that means is you might not be the nicest communicator, you might be someone who curses a lot, is aggressive, does whatever, but you are still communicating. You have chosen to move physicality, and you have chosen to also move sound, regardless of how depressed or stressed you are. You are chosen in this life to be a communicator. Now it's very important to understand that before we can enter the Pilot's Academy, you understand why you have communication, and in a sense why your communication is what it is and how it can be and also has always been advanced. So what I mean by that is that consciousness at first perceives what is here, then to immediately dissolve into all potentials of what it is observing. As such a phenomena occurs, identification cannot stay on just an individual sense of view, and you will realize it's as if the individual view has suddenly gotten the ability to view many other views. So what that means is it's as if your pinky finger thought it was the only one and it suddenly discovers the other fingers. And how does it discover it? By looking at the palm. And so the palm is very playfully the plane of existence that man is in. You must realize that jealousy is simply how a condition of life is interpreted based on the action you do. So you will see that actions are not as important as the internal actions before you can even take a step. The internal action is, do you have vision? Do you see clearly? Is your understanding one that does not avoid things, is not covered in ignorance? Now, you will see that you as a human being are given many ways to acknowledge this condition that is life. And what that means is that through different states of self-awareness, whether it's encompassing more stillness or whether it's encompassing more movement, you will see that you are still associating with a thing that can still be aware of itself as a thing. So we do not want to look for a map, but through our own exploration of the peak of our experience, become our own transcendence in understanding who we are and who we have always been. Jealousy is just imagery that is unnecessary. It is you thinking that there's something to compete for in a world where the nature of things is temporal. You know what they didn't tell you about the rabbit and turtle race? That at the end, time wins the race, and both those beings die. And they do not die, but they, in a sense, transition. So, similarly in life, your self-awareness and how you're extracting that through the observance of your immediate reality, which is now, you will find that which is required for you to remember the platform for your work. These words might sound a bit without context, but you will see that there are some ways that the silence speaks that you will wonder if you've always spoken. Much blessings and namaste.